called Food for Thought. A lot of responses came by for this program, and it just appears that food is the name of the game. Everybody's interested in food, but this program is very interesting with some new recipes, different styles of cooking. Of course, food is directly related to your health. Your health is your wealth, whether you like it or not. What we eat is what we are and is what we think. That's how it is. What we eat is what we are, is what we think. So what's your Thursday box have to say? Earlier on, when we started Radio Ramadan, we said, make an action calendar for 30 days, and today's Thursday, and in each box, put down a milestone. What do you want to do on Thursday today? Very important. So all of you listening in right now, give us a shout and say good morning, say salams. Whichever language you wish to choose, do let us know. We're on Ramadan Radio 87.9 FM on 077 488 55055, and our telephone number is 011 22086. So what was the effect of the food program yesterday? Well, here's one of the effects I'm going to share with you. It goes, well, I asked one of the chaps on our team, I says, listen, I need you to do some research on internet for me about this particular subject. And he turned around, looked at me, and he gave me one of those looks that you knew some trouble was coming your way. He's going to say something now here which is going to be totally negative. And what did he say? He said, you're asking the wrong man the wrong question. Ask me about how to pull strings with food and I will be able to help you, right? And that was the end of that conversation. So you can see the effect of a food question or a food, anything to do with food, there's always going to be action and a response. But otherwise, you're in trouble. So let us know what your Thursday box is all about. I need to know, what are you doing today? What have you put in your Thursday box? And of course, tomorrow is Jummah. So don't forget about Jummah. What is in your Jummah action box? We call this the action calendar. Ramadan is the month of action. Remember what I said? Your good actions plant the seeds for your good deeds. Remember that. I want you to repeat after me. My good actions will plant the seeds for my good deeds. So write down what your good action is going to be for Thursday. And of course, while you're at it, you may as well write down your good action for Friday as well and share that with the rest of us here. So we have Maghrub. He's absolutely tuned in this morning. Good morning to you, Maghrub. How's the weather in your country where you are right now? And share with us exactly where you are. And of course, the time difference is quite forward or backward, and people are listening in from all over the world. And that is good news. Maghrub is a regular listener, mashallah. He tunes in, which is great. And any one of you who are local, send us a message on 0774 88555055, and that is our WhatsApp message. If you want to call us, you can call us on 011 648 22086. Of course, you can send us a WhatsApp or you can send us a text on the same message, and it'd be great to hear from you. So what we've been doing this week, each week we are following a theme of programs, and this week we've been following the plight of the homeless in Leicester. And of course, included in that is the issues of many, many people who have lost their jobs and they are referring for help to a food bank. Now, believe it or not, there are people who've never ever seen a food bank, never heard of a food bank, who never ever visited a food bank, and today that is where they're heading for support. And this is why we are focusing on this sector this week. So it's all about community engagement and excelling at engaging with all different parts of the community, because this is a sector here that knows no color, creed, race, religion. There are all sorts of people that are being dealt with here. So today, I'm going to be looking forward to meeting two very special people in the community. And of course, these are people that I call AICs. These are the AICs. What are the AICs? They are the assets in the community. That's what they are. They are the assets in the community. And if we don't share and appreciate these assets in the community, then that will be wrong on our part. All of us out there, some of us are not even aware of these wonderful people in the community. And I'm here this morning to introduce to you one of these assets in the community. Her good name is Salma Ravat. So Salma, are you with us this morning? I think Salma is just about connecting with us. So we're going to find her and bring her back. So while technology plays its part, we shall continue with the program, and Salma will join us as soon as she can. So if you can give Salma a bell, and our producers will find her. So we have some good messages on the screen there from a group. What is he writing here? So he said, Alhamdulillah, the weather is not so hot where he is, and is full of sands. Well, of course, he's in a very sandy place and having some good fun there in nice sunny. Well, today here we have extremely good weather, and I hope it stays like that throughout the day. Of course, good weather is all related to your positive energy. When the sun is shining, you start shining, and that's the value of a bit of vitamin D. Makes a lot of difference, you know. And of course, we're going to see if we can get Salma back. Is she back? Okay, give her a call and see if you can find her. She's probably gone for a little break, and we shall recover and bring her back. So somebody sent me a message here on my phone to say that what is their good thought for the day. And of course, Salma is using the Zoom link. No, we cannot hear her. She's on mute. She's using the Zoom link, so she's on mute, I think, and we cannot hear her. So if you can give her a call and give us some guidance on that. So we're getting on with that. Of course, when we are using this modern technology, it does come with a few technical issues. You know, there's a button you press there for mute, and there's another one there for starting a video. And sometimes you are not aware that these are activated, and you don't know until you've been speaking there for some time, and then the other person will send you a message that, I can't hear you, you are on mute. So that's how it is. So Ramadan Radio has been at the forefront of using this technology. If you remember last year, we were all very, very much in tune with this technology. So Salma, as soon as you get back, I want you to just interrupt me and say Assalam to me. Then I know you are there. If I don't hear from you, then I know that we are still zooming away somewhere, right? So somebody sent me a message that my thought is send an encouraging note to someone who needs a boost. Well, that is wonderful. So if you pick up the phone and give somebody a message, an encouraging thought for them, a good positive thought, and gives them a boost. So that is what it's all about. When we share our ideas on the radio in the mornings, what we are doing is engaging with each other and building a better, stronger community. So if you pick that phone up, give somebody a ring and say something nice, something positive to cheer them up. There's so many people out there right now during this COVID period who are at home and they're in the lockdown mode, and a lot of people have had a lot of problems during this time. And of course, we tend not to delve too much into the negative aspects. We've been focusing more here on the radio on all the positive things that are happening. And we do touch upon lockdown, COVID, vaccine, but we much rather we have some very specialist people on Saturdays and Sundays who are in the medic field, who can talk about these subjects in a very, very knowledgeable manner. And that is the right way to do it, because you can't go and make a statement which is not totally fact. So on Saturdays and Sundays, we have our experts that come on. So we have a connection here. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Good morning. I think we lost you this morning.
I tried twice to link in using the Zoom, I can hear you fine. I don't know why you can't hear me. I use Zoom every day, and yeah, maybe it's not meant to be today.
Okay, I think sometimes your mute button needs to be looked at, or
Yeah, I did. I checked all of that, checked the sound quality before I even came on. But yeah,
you need sometimes a little hammer by the table there, and you knock it 2 or 3 times, and then it starts. So today, one of the listeners has said salam there to you, and he's saying, what is our topic today? Can you repeat? Our topic today is to discuss the situation with the homeless sector in our city. And of course, if you are far away from our city called beautiful Leicester, you can share with us some of your experiences on the other side of the world with your homeless sector. And this is what we are discussing today. So you see, Salma, before you even arrived, there were people anxiously waiting to hear what you and I are going to talk about today. And that's very pleasing to hear. So today, Salma, first of all the listeners in the city and far away in the parts of the world that I don't even know, because people are tuning onto the radio from all sectors nowadays with our digital technology. So Salma, I would like you to just give yourself an introduction so people can get to know who is Salma Ravat.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I'm live in Leicester. I've been here for 25 plus years. I've been heavily involved in voluntary work for probably about the past 20 plus years in the community, working with different organisations, including things like, taking part in fundraising events, raising awareness of Islam in schools, being active as a school governor, working on RE through Sacre. And in 2009, I started a project that supported people who are homeless in the city. And then that's just sort of evolved. But yeah.
So quite almost 11 years ago now, isn't it? You've been active with that particular project. I think from all the projects that you have been working on, this one has absolutely taken over most of your time now.
Yeah. I mean, this is now going into my 12 years. 2009 is when we sort of started. But yeah, this is a project, obviously I've worked on, not project, this is a group of people I've sort of been, that this is the group of people I should be supporting and helping and developing projects to support. So this is what I've been doing for the last 12 years.
So some text messages are asking some questions. So today we are with Salma Ravat, and just tell us the name of the project that you are with now. What is it called, your organization?
Yeah, so I run a charity called One Roof Leicester. We're based here. We've been active. We started off as a networking forum in 2011, and then in 2014 we became a charity.
Of course, today, for all of the listeners out there far afield, we are discussing with Salma Ravat One Roof, the project that she is head of, and we're going to discuss how did this One Roof set up, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to discuss the value to the community, the impact, and what the cost factors are, who pays for these costs, and what it actually costs the whole government in the homeless sector for one person who's homeless, and what are the long-term solutions. We're going to go through that, and then we're going to see how we're going to build some strategic partnerships with the wonderful organizations like One Roof in our beautiful city of Leicester, how we can take this to the world. The good work that we are doing here, my intention, all of us should join together and share this work, not only with another city adjacent to us, but share it with the whole country. And why not share it with the whole world, Salma?
Yes, definitely. It's important. It's really important that community, we're aware of the poverty and the hardship and destitution on our doorstep. I think we're very good at supporting causes around the world. But I think we've got to look at the example of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions, and what did they do and who did they help first? And it was always the people, regardless of their beliefs or their faith, or believing in other faith systems. If somebody was living in poverty, their doors were open to them, and they were there to support them. And so for me, it's very much using that example and saying, actually, there are people on my doorstep who need that support, that need that help. So we need to look, and obviously, yes, do donate and support people around the world as well. But also look at what's happening on our doorstep.
Of course, One Roof is one of the organizations at the forefront of taking care of this sector, along with the other organizations that we have been meeting in the city of Leicester. And Salma, just out of the top of your head, just tell all our listeners here, how many organizations are there in Leicester who are taking care of this sector, the homeless sector in the city, which also includes the refugees who come into the city from the latest country we have is from Syria. And prior to that, we had Iraq. Prior to that, we had Sri Lanka. We had so many countries I can list here today.
So it depends. I mean, obviously, if there's, even within the sector, you've got those organisations that provide accommodation, others that provide advice or support, which can include legal support or mental health. Then you've got the charities or the groups that provide health and mental health care to individuals. And some of them are generic, so whatever your situation or circumstances are, you can go to that organisation and get support. And there are some that are just solely for people who are homeless or refugees and asylum seekers. So it's really quite broad in that sense. If you're talking about accommodation providers in the city that are just for people who are homeless, then you're probably talking about less than 10. But if you're talking about wider services across the whole sector, but that might also help people who are homeless or refugees, you're talking about 70, 80 organisations.
That is unbelievable. Now, you think I'm living in this city for a long time, since 1972, and I did not know that there was 70 or 80 organizations in all the different sectors. Like, you are signposting some people to a organization that specializes in mental health, and so many the food banks and so forth. So collectively, in the city of Leicester, if any one of you would like to care to Google, you'll find that there is a huge number of charities.
If you go on the new Leicester City, the Homelessness Charter website, there's a service directory which One Roof used to use, but we've transferred it over to the Charter. And on there's a service directory, and that lists almost every organisation that works for people who are homeless, but also where they can go for advice and information. So we do have a dedicated directory that just supports for advice and information for people who are homeless. And that's a great place to start. So even if you as an individual want to know more about who's supporting these individuals, then all of that information is in that one place. That doesn't include food banks, because a lot of food banks only cater for individuals living in their locality, in their community, and not all of them want to advertise to the wider community because they're very specific about who they support. So the food bank list is separate to this. The food banks aren't included in the service directory.
Of course, the food banks are offering an absolute vital support to the community, and we're going to touch on them in more detail when Maulana Lockhart will join us from the Peace Bank, and he will go through his journey and the team. I mean, I remember some years ago you were involved with that project as well, so we're going to touch on that shortly. And I want to ask you a question now. Of course, the value to the community for One Roof organizations like One Roof doing the work that they do, run us through. Let all our listeners know what is the value to the community in the city of Leicester.
So in terms of what we do, we provide accommodation. So we provide shared houses for individuals who are roughly. So we work with single people. So we don't work with families and children. We just work with single individuals, and that's men and women. And we have shared houses out in the community. We've got 8 properties at the moment, and we should have 2 more by the summer. And we've got one house that's just specifically for women. And what we do is we provide accommodation and intense support, so that the aim is to give them a stable home, some security, and once they're stable, we provide intense support to help them to actually move on, to prepare them for independent living. So whilst they're with us, we are preparing them and supporting them to apply for accommodation so that they can get their own flat or, a room in a shared house or, social housing, whatever we can access for that individual. But we also provide accommodation, and we are the only charity that does this in Leicester. Is we provide what we call our compassionate beds. So we provide, we sort of have a target of about a third of our beds in our houses of people who have got no income and in some cases have got no status. So these can be destitute EU migrants, they can be refused asylum seekers, and in some instances newly recognised refugees. So these people won't have any income, and they are at risk of sleeping on the street. And so where we know that we can work with that individual, or we've got a partner agency, because we do a lot of work with other partners in the city, what we do is we will accommodate them so that they can get the evidence they may need to submit a new application as an asylum seeker, or we might, support them to apply for residency status if they're an EU migrant. So that way, once they're in the property, we can work with them quite intensely to get them to a state where they can either apply for benefits or they can start working. We do that for. We've been doing that since the day, we started accommodation in 2015. And in terms of the individuals that we work with, we work with people of all faiths and no faith. And we've had so many Muslims who've come and stayed with us that I think you'd be quite surprised. I think a lot of people think that homelessness only affects other people or people of other faiths or, English people, but actually this it goes across every faith and no faith. And for some of these people, we are their lifeline. We are the ones that give them that opportunity when nobody else has given it to them. I mean, we've got currently just in our properties, we've got 3 Muslims who are living with us, and 2 of those have got no income. They are destitute asylum seekers. So what we also do with anybody who's on no income is we also give them a weekly subsistence payment, so a weekly allowance, because they've got no money. We give them a little bit of money so that they can at least, use it either for, travel or for buying food, clothes, whatever they need. But we also drop off a weekly food parcel to all those individuals as well. So we do really good food parcel with lots of staple food items, non-perishable but perishable as well, so that they can make that money go a little bit longer as well.
So I'm going to interrupt you if you must apologize, because very shortly we're going to have a little break. But during this break, I want to, you and I will have a chat, but I want to afterwards discuss where does all the money come from? This is a question being asked, and another question being asked is, how do you bridge the gap between the people who want your services and the people who are donating to you? There's a distinct disparity here. I call it the disparity between the city and the county. So how do we do this? After the break, we're going to delve into this. Is this gap of disparity is also something which is very important to discuss. So all of you listening in, if you care to join us again after a short break, then we're going to continue with this conversation. So we are going to join you very, very shortly. Don't go away, and don't go and have a cup of tea because you're fasting. And just to remind you, Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Brothers and sisters, we are back on Ramadan Radio 87.9 FM. Just had a little short break and just going to wait here for all your messages. So send me a WhatsApp or send me a text or call me and see if you can remember the number. It's 0774 88 55055, and if you want to call in, you've got to call in on 01164822086. So I'm here today with the One Roof in Leicester, headed by Salma Rawat, and she's joined us today very kindly. Jazakallah khair, Salma, for joining us this morning. Do we have you now on Zoom?
Assalamu alaikum. We've got it all sorted.
Yeah, we got some technological issues sorted. We had a little problem. It's called a finger problem in the control room. So when one shift is finished, another one starts, they start pressing buttons that they are not supposed to press, and the next shift starts in the morning, and I can leave you to guess what happens later on in the day. It's what we call a big fight afterwards, so I shall keep you posted and let you know everything that goes on here at Radio Ramadan. So Salma, sorry about that. We are back in action now here. We were discussing earlier on the value to the community and also the impact analysis here of one person that becomes homeless, and the issue, one of the listeners, he mentioned to us about the disparity, those who receive and those who donate. So take it from here, Salma.
Yeah, so obviously with us, we rely very heavily on donations, and alhamdulillah, the community, the whole community of just Leicester and Leicestershire are so generous in supporting the work we do. The compassionate beds I mentioned to you earlier, we wouldn't be able to run those without donations. But we receive financial donations, but we also receive lots of items as well. So we receive furniture and food, which we use either in our properties or when somebody moves on, we help them to prepare their house or their flat, and usually that's with donations. But we also, apart from our houses, until COVID-19 hit, we also ran a night shelter, and we'd just moved into running it all year round, but we had to close it. And what this gives, and donations do, is they give people the opportunity to support a project that's local. So either that's by volunteering or by giving a donation. So we do encourage, the community to volunteer at the night shelter. But once it's safe again, we also encourage volunteers to help in our houses, and that can be things like befriending our residents or providing practical support. So that could be gardening, painting, decorating, and obviously with fundraising. And that then gives you or the individual that's supporting us that link with the people that we help. And we find that with the night shelter, where we've had over the years, we've had probably around 500 different individuals who volunteered at the night shelter. And what's really remarkable each time somebody volunteers and you get feedback from them is when they talk about how much more they've got out of the experience than they feel that the actual homeless person has got. So you get a sense of understanding. You find it's a very humbling experience. It's an opportunity to share what you have with someone else, and that's and I'm not talking about giving money or sharing your home, but actually giving somebody time, which is again something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded us to do, is to look at our time and share our time, and that means that people who've been homeless, sometimes they've not had a proper conversation with someone else for days at a time. Nobody's taken an interest in their life, or just treated them like another human being and sat down and played a game of Scrabble or read something with them. And doing things like that means that you're humanizing them, making them feel really special, and that interaction then leads to friendships. And we find that volunteers are really appreciative of that opportunity. And I would encourage anybody who gets, when it's safe, because at the moment it's not, we can't welcome volunteers back, is to maybe even register as a volunteer. So if you can't donate financially or give furniture, then that's another opportunity. And the other thing that we do have is, I talked about how we've got 8 properties at the moment, and we're going to have hopefully 2 more soon. Is those properties, apart from 2 which we own, are actually owned by community members who've given them to One Roof to use on long-term leases. And again, that's another way that people can be involved. And, we've got houses across the city. We look after these properties really well. They're on a long-term agreement, and we take responsibility for those properties.
Of course, I just want to interrupt you there, Salma. Who actually then pays for that property? So if you have a property and you're putting in that property 4, 5, 6 people in there, then who actually foots a bill?
So for instance, say you had an empty home, an empty house, an extra surplus house you didn't want to use, or you're not using, and you would give that to One Roof to use. We would then obviously look after the property for you. We would furnish it. If it's not got furniture, that is, we would pay the bills, the council tax. We would keep up the maintenance of the property. I mean, there are certain things we won't pay, like we won't take over sort of, if there's a problem with the roof or any structural issues. But day to day, we look after that property, and we do a very good job of keeping it in good condition.
And the person who has provided the property, then who pays him, or does he just donate it?
So again, what we've got 2 schemes. We've actually got, sort of half our properties are from very, very generous individuals who've actually said to us, we don't want the rent. We know that that property is going to appreciate in value, and that house is mine forever. But I want you to use it, but I don't need any rent. I'm fine. I don't have any financial sort of constraints. So you can have that property to use on a peppercorn rent, which is basically 0 rent. Others will say to us, I do need a bit of rent. So they will give it to us on a reduced rent. So, sort of below market value, but it's just enough to, maybe cover some of their costs. So, we will pay a certain amount of rent, but not the value, not market value, because obviously the point of it is that you're doing some kind of good, and you as an individual are not trying to make a profit out of it either.
Of course, all of you listening in right now, please pay attention that if you do have a property and you feel that you can donate it for a good use, it's a sadqa jariyah. You are giving and you're building your home in the akhirah, and that's what you're doing. This is the kind of things we talked about from the beginning, from the first day. We mentioned that the good deeds that we do is the rent that we pay for our home in Jannah. And this is the best way I can explain it to you. So time is another thing what Salma has talked about. And time is, if you don't have money, at least give your time to these wonderful organizations and become part of the solution, and come and see what they do after COVID. Inshallah, you'll be able to bring your extended family, your immediate family, and join with them, see what they're doing. And it's the best thing you can do to your children, to show them at a very early age the art of giving. And you give your time to the community and get involved. And what kind of things I'm talking about? Simple things like go make some cupcakes and start distributing them and collecting your £1 for a cupcake, and then donating that money. So even your children can get involved in activities like that. So these are the kind of things what we are talking about as to how we can all become part of the solution. Now, I'm going to bring in on this call Maulana Lockhart from the Peace Bank. Maulana, are you there with us? I think we've lost Maulana. He's hung up on us, so we're going to have to call him again.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I'm here, my brother. How are you, Zed?
I'm fine. Good morning to you. Wa alaikum salam. And you were listening in attentively there, weren't you, before you...
Yes. I was very attentive.
I think Salma, Maulana Lockhart is keeping an eye on both of us today. He's making some notes.
So, yes, we have to learn and observe. Wa alaikum salam, Salma, alhamdulillah, and yourself.
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
Of course,
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
of course, I know that both of you have worked together on a few
Yes.
projects at the food bank, and just an introduction to Maulana Lokat. So, if you can briefly tell the whole world listening in right now what the
Yes.
Peace Bank is all about.
Okay, so Alhamdulillah, Allah Shukr, all praises are due to Allah, without whose guidance we would never be able to do anything that we are doing, Alhamdulillah. And without whose beloved teachings, our dear Master Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, without his honorable ways, his guidance, his teachings, the hadith, that we know how to conduct ourselves when it comes to people that are in need and people that are around us. And Alhamdulillah, the Peace Center came about some 8 years ago. We took over a property which was hardly used in the hope to increase just the salah and the madrasa that was happening in the Thurnby Lodge area. At that time, lots of people living in Leicester didn't even know a place called Thurnby Lodge existed in Leicester. But Alhamdulillah, things have changed. And through the grace and mercy of Allah, after some 6 months after starting at the building, Allah Shukr, we started the Peace Center Food Bank. And Sister Salma and her dear partner, Sister Farhana, Alhamdulillah, they assisted us. And Alhamdulillah, Allah Shukr, we managed to get the ball rolling, and we haven't looked back since then.
A great community effort, and this is the value of everyone working together. And of course, we all know each other from the project that Mohammed Joseph and Yusuf Chambers started, called the City Retreat on Churchgate.
Yes.
And this is how we all came together to work together and facilitate each other. And one of the beautiful things about this sector is how people, they embrace each other and how they develop love between each other, isn't it,
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I think, Alhamdulillah, if you're doing this sort of work, you're not, and Monana will back me up, you're not doing this for yourself. Inshallah, obviously, we're waiting for the
100%.
Inshallah, but you do this because you care very deeply about the community and the people who live in this community, and you want to be proud of the community you live in. And we can't do this work in isolation. This is not about me or you. We've got to work together if we want to really help people out of destitution and poverty and into a better life. And we rely on each other, and that's what makes it really special, that we can all work together. It's not about who's better or who's doing more. It's how do we support each other. And I think that's what's really, really powerful.
Of course, now, Maulana, in the early days when you set the Peace Bank, and we had people who were objecting and people who said, we don't want this Peace Bank here in Thurnby Lodge. And we've come a long way from that, haven't we? Where we have become, you have become an asset in the community in that area. So just share that journey with us, with all the people listening in right now.
9 years ago, around this time, it was the month of Ramadan. And I remember it was the first few days into Ramadan. And there was this big objection, from a lot of local people that had turned up because we wanted to take over a building which wasn't being used, which was offered to us by the people who had it. But the long story short, after some 8 months of negotiations with the council, we were given a premises. And, that was a very difficult time in the lives of the community of Thurnby Lodge. It was a very challenging time. There was a lot of confusion. A lot of people didn't understand. And when I say didn't understand, I'm talking about Muslims and non-Muslims alike that didn't know exactly what was going on. There were some people that were, creating this scenario that, these Muslims are here to take over the whole place and, that sort of thing. So there was a lot of fear created. But alhamdulillah, through Allah's grace and mercy, through the Peace Center being there, and people for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as Sister Salma said now, that for the pleasure of Allah, and only for the pleasure of Allah, people that have come forward and have genuinely given their time, their effort, and they have sacrificed for the benefit of the community, alhamdulillah, we are where we are today.
Of course.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here.
This is the value of all peoples coming together, working together, and they do this with their time, and some people are donating money, and you do all these things for the sake of Allah. Now, this is a sector of the community where many people who I always say are sort of not involved, or they've moved on in their professional career or their lives or their businesses, and they think that sometimes, if they just donate £10, £20, £10,000, it solves the problem. It doesn't quite solve the problem, because this is going to be an ongoing, forever situation. What is required here, Salma, that more and more people have to come down that ladder and come and embrace these situations so that they themselves can develop their humanity.
Yeah, I think it's really important to recognize that at this moment in time, and especially I think that the pandemic's made it worse, is that there are more people who are finding that they are now living in poverty, or they've become destitute. And, I'm talking from One Roof's perspective, that actually the support we get is probably more from the wider non-Muslim community than the Muslim community. If I look at our houses, we now have a house probably from more or less every other faith group in the city, except for a donation, a house from a Muslim family or a Muslim institute. If you look at our donations, again, mainly they come from the wider community. If you look at the number of people who volunteer with us, by far, the numbers that support us are from other faith communities. So I think as a community, we are still catching up, and I think we need to get to that state where we say, right, actually, what can I do for people in this community? How can I help? What's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given me that I can share with those that are in need? And that could be, like I said, it could be time, it could be volunteering.
Of course, just going to interrupt you again now, because we are almost coming to the end of the program now. For Salma and for Maulana Lokat, I'd like to thank them for joining us this morning. But guys, I want you to also remember that Radio Ramadan are once again heading the campaign for the Leicester Children's Hospital. So if I would kindly request that both of you discuss with your teams, and if we can collectively put some monies together. I know it's difficult, but we're in difficult times, but any support, even moral support, any acknowledgement for that project would be absolutely gratefully appreciated, and then we can collectively deliver this to the Leicester Children's Hospital and show that we mean what we say when we say let's work together as a team. Guys, it's been fantastic talking to you both, and I look forward to meeting you outside of Ramadan.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah for the opportunity.
Jazakallah khair, everybody. We'll join you tomorrow morning. Assalamu alaikum.